Listen, before we go any further, I need you to hear this. What I'm about to say didn't come from books or sermons or certainty. It came from a hospital room. It came from a diagnosis I wasn't supposed to get at 40. So please, don't scroll away. Don't treat this like background noise. Just stay with me for a few minutes. My name is Emily. I'm 40 years old, and I'm dying from cervical cancer. I don't say that for drama. I say it because once death sits across from you, quietly, every single question you've been avoiding suddenly demands an answer. For most of my life, I thought I knew what I believed. I grew up with faith as structure. Church on Sundays, prayers before meals, clear rules about right and wrong, heaven and hell, who God was, and what He expected from us. There was comfort in that clarity. There was safety in knowing the right answers. And like most people, I never questioned them because life hadn't forced me to. But illness does something brutal and honest to belief. It strips away borrowed certainty. When I was diagnosed, the first thing people said wasn't, "I'm sorry." It was, "God has a plan." And I remember lying awake that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking, if this is the plan, I don't understand it. I'm not angry at God, at least I don't think I am, but I am confused. And confusion when you're facing death is terrifying. Before cancer, faith was something I carried politely. After cancer, it became something I had to wrestle with. I started asking questions I'd never allowed myself to ask out loud. Not rebellious questions, honest ones. What happens when the body fails before life feels finished? Why do good people suffer quietly while cruel people seem untouched? And if God is love, why does love hurt this much? I didn't stop believing, but I stopped pretending I was certain. And that, strangely, was the beginning of something deeper. After the diagnosis, time stopped feeling linear. Days blurred together, but my thoughts became sharper than they had ever been. When you're told your body may not make it, belief stops being theoretical. I found myself asking questions not because I wanted to rebel, but because I needed something that could survive honesty. I read again the scriptures I grew up with, slowly this time, not searching for promises, but for humanity. Then I read outside of them. I read about meditation from people who didn't believe in a personal God at all. I read reflections written by Muslim women about surrender and discipline. I read philosophers who didn't believe in anything beyond this life, yet spoke about responsibility and kindness with frightening clarity. And something unexpected happened. Instead of losing faith, it fractured into something wider. I noticed that every tradition, every worldview, was trying to answer the same ache. Not with the same language, not with the same rituals, but with the same question. How do you live knowing you will die? During chemotherapy, I shared a treatment room with a woman who wore a headscarf. We never talked about theology, we talked about fear. She told me how she prayed 5 times a day, not to be cured, but to remember she wasn't alone. And I realized that my own prayers, messy, inconsistent, unsure, were doing the exact same thing. Different words, same longing. I know what some people assume when they hear stories like this. They think I'm saying all beliefs are interchangeable. That truth doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying. Differences matter. They matter because they shape how people understand suffering, responsibility, hope, and love. But what mattered more to me, sitting in that cold hospital chair, was this. Every belief system that survived centuries had something to say about compassion, humility, and how we treat others when life hurts. And cancer made one thing painfully clear. None of us get out of this with certainty intact. Illness doesn't care what label you wear. It strips everyone down to the same vulnerability. And in that stripped-down place, I didn't find answers. I found something better. I found honesty. As my treatment continued, I saw belief in its rawest forms, not in sanctuaries or ceremonies, but in waiting rooms, hospital corridors, and quiet conversations that happened when no one was trying to impress God. I met people who believed deeply, and I met people who believed nothing at all. I watched a chaplain sit silently with a man who didn't want prayers, only company. I listened to a nurse who called herself an atheist speak with more gentleness than most sermons I'd ever heard, and I began to understand something important. Faith doesn't reveal itself in what people claim. It reveals itself in how they behave when no one is watching. But I've also seen the damage belief can do. I've heard patients whisper guilt into plastic curtains, convinced their illness was punishment. I've seen families fracture because someone prayed differently, loved differently, questioned too much. I've watched well-meaning people reduce unimaginable pain to slogans. And every time it happened, something inside me recoiled. Because illness teaches you quickly. There is no theology that justifies cruelty. There is no doctrine that excuses the absence of empathy. I remember one afternoon, exhausted and nauseous, scrolling through messages from strangers online. Some promised miracles if I believed harder. Others told me to prepare for judgment. Neither helped. What helped was the woman who simply wrote, "I don't know what I believe either, but I'm thinking of you." That sentence carried more grace than any argument ever could. Cancer doesn't make you wise, but it makes you allergic to dishonesty. It sharpens your awareness of what heals and what harms. And the closer I got to the reality of my own ending, the clearer this became. If belief makes someone harder, colder, more afraid of others, something has gone wrong. Whatever name you give to God, or don't give at all, it should never require you to abandon compassion. There was a night, about 6 months after my diagnosis, when everything collapsed at once. The treatments weren't working the way we'd hoped. My body felt foreign. My marriage was strained under the weight of fear we didn't know how to name. And the future, which once stretched endlessly forward, now felt terrifyingly short. That night, I sat alone on the bathroom floor, my back against the tub, shaking. And for the first time in years, I prayed. Not the way I was taught, not with reverence or confidence or polished words. I didn't know who I was talking to. I wasn't even sure anyone was listening. I just said out loud, "I can't do this alone. I don't know what I believe anymore. But if there is anything real beyond me, I need help." There was no miracle, no sudden peace, no divine voice, no certainty. I cried until my body gave up. And the next morning, something small happened. A nurse I barely knew sat beside me longer than she had to. She talked about her sister, who'd died young. She gave me the number of a support group I hadn't heard of. She looked me in the eyes and didn't rush away. Was that God? Was it coincidence? Was it simply human kindness? I honestly don't know. And for the first time in my life, not knowing didn't scare me. Because what mattered wasn't the explanation. It was the connection. The older I get, the less interested I am in arguments about who's right. I don't know what happens after death. I don't know if consciousness continues or dissolves or transforms into something we don't yet have language for. I don't know which prayers are correct. I don't know which tradition has the clearest map. What I do know is this. Whatever is real, whatever is ultimate, it seems to move quietly through compassion, presence, and care. And maybe certainty was never the goal. As I've gotten closer to the reality of dying, something unexpected has happened. I've stopped needing answers. I watch people my age, people much younger than me actually, walk away from religion, and I understand why. They've seen hypocrisy dressed up as holiness. They've seen judgment where there should have been care. And I don't blame them. But here's what I want to say, especially to them. Don't abandon the search just because someone hurt you while claiming to speak for the divine. Don't give up on meaning because you were given shallow explanations for deep pain. You don't have to accept everything you were taught. You don't have to stay loyal to a tradition that no longer holds you. But please, don't stop asking the questions that make you human. Because the longing to understand, to connect, to feel part of something larger than yourself, that didn't come from indoctrination. It came from being alive. I still sit in quiet spaces. Sometimes they're churches, sometimes they're hospital rooms at night. I listen. I breathe. I try to stay open. I learn from believers. I learn from skeptics. I learn from people who have lost all faith and still choose kindness. And here's what all of it has taught me. The point isn't to be right. The point is to be gentle. The most important thing isn't what you believe about the universe. It's how you treat the people in front of you because of it. If your beliefs make you more loving, more patient, more willing to serve, then they're doing something beautiful. If they make you fearful, cruel, or superior, then something has been lost along the way. I don't know how much time I have left. Months, maybe. If I'm lucky, a little longer. And I'm still learning, still questioning, still surprised by where I find beauty and truth. If you're watching this and you're unsure of what you believe, I want you to know this. Your doubts don't disqualify you. Your questions are not failures. They are evidence that you're alive and paying attention. Don't let anyone convince you that mystery is weakness. Stay curious, stay humble, be kind, and keep asking the big questions. Not because they guarantee answers, but because they keep your heart open. There's a whole community here of people sharing what life has taught them through loss, struggle, love, and uncertainty. If this meant something to you, consider subscribing. And if you have a story of your own, something learned the hard way, there's a form below. Maybe your voice is the one someone else needs to hear. Keep searching, keep questioning, and above all, keep being gentle with each other.